And hello, everyone, and welcome to Uncivil Law, where we learn through the misfortunes of others. As always, I hope you will enjoy this legal comedy content. And today will be the day I earn that subscription. For today's story, I thought we would ring in the new year with lawyer jokes. And to do that, I am going to be reading from this book, which came out in 2005. There might be a more current copy, but this is the copy I have. Lowering the Bar, Lawyer Jokes and Legal Culture by Mark Gallner. Okay. And this book, as you can see, is fairly thick. And as far as I can tell, it's an attempt to compile every lawyer joke ever told. That is its purpose in being. So it's like, do you have any lawyer jokes? Yes, as it happens, I have apparently every lawyer joke ever told, or at least every lawyer joke ever told as of 2005, or at least one person's attempt to document every lawyer joke told since 2005, with footnotes and citations and all that shit. So I thought we would read from some of this stuff together and enjoy it. So we're going to do that. So we will go to first chapter 1, lies and stratagems. So these jokes are organized by topic, or that's what they're trying to do. So these are lies and stratagems, the corruption of discourse. Exciting. So I will read some of these jokes and we can share in their glory together. Okay. This is a classic. A lot of good classics in here. A couple of people set off in a hot air balloon. They're determined they're going to stay up longer than anyone else in ballooning history. But 2 days later, there's a huge storm that wrecks all their radio equipment. And while they're being buffeted around, their food falls overboard. Worse still, they don't know where they are. They might be anywhere, on the other side of the world. So they decide to lose altitude until they come into sight of land. Down they go very slowly, descending through the clouds. And then they sigh with relief because they're over land. Peering down from their basket, they see cars and think, well, they're driving on the left side of the road. That means we're probably in the UK or Australia, and they're playing tennis. So it must be a civilized country. They come within hailing distance of a tennis court and call to one of the players. Hello down there. The two fellows stop playing tennis and look up, saying, yeah, what do you want? Where are we? You got any money? Yes, what do you want with the money? Throw it down, said the man. So they threw a wallet down, and one of the blokes on the ground picks it up, takes the money out, splits it with the fellow on the other side of the net, and puts the wallet in his pocket. Finally says, now what was your question? Where are we? You're in a balloon. At that moment, they rise above the clouds, and the two partners look at one another helplessly. That was useless, they said. No, at least we know where we are. What do you mean we know where we are? Well, we know we're over a civilized country. They drive over the left-hand side of the road, and those two fellows are lawyers. How can you tell they're lawyers? Well, first of all, they wouldn't do a thing for us until we paid them. And what they said was absolutely true and also totally useless. And then there's a variation on the joke, which I like too. A man is flying in his hot air balloon and realizes he's lost. He reduces his height and spots a man down below. He lowers his balloon further and shouts, excuse me, can you help me? I promised my friend I would meet him a half hour ago, but I don't know where I am. The man says, yes, you're in a hot air balloon, hovering approximately 30 feet above this field. You're between 40 and 42 degrees north latitude and between 58 and 60 degrees west longitude. You must be a lawyer, said the balloonist. I am, replies the man. How'd you know? Well, said the balloonist, everything you told me is technically correct, but I have no idea what to make of your information, and the fact is, I'm still lost. The man below responds, you must be a client. I am, responds the balloonist, but how did you know? Well, said the man, you don't know where you are or where you're going. You have made a promise to which you have no idea how to keep it, and you expect me to solve your problem. The fact is, you're in the exact same position you were in before we met, but now it's somehow my fault. I like that one very much. A businessman a businessman consulted his attorney about collecting a $500 debt from his former associate. Have you a note or anything which proves you owe the money? The lawyer said. No, I'm sorry to say I don't. Then the only thing that you need to do is write him a note asking for the $1,000 that he owes you. But all he owes me is $500. The attorney smiled. Exactly. He will write and tell you so, and then we have the proof we'll need in court. Pretty good. In a desperate act, Felix, a bank teller, quietly let himself into the vault and filled his briefcase with $100 bills, then fled home. He quickly came to his senses and realized the enormity of his action. He phoned his attorney and said, I've stolen $50,000 from the bank I work for. I don't know what came over me. What should I do? Steal another $50,000 and bring it to me, the attorney directed. Felix was astounded, but he did it. And after he brought the cash, she wrote the following letter to which she served to get the man off. Gentlemen, your tealer, Felix Fingers, took $100,000 from your bank. The hard-pressed family, despite their most valiant efforts, was unable to raise more than $50,000, which they offer to return if you will not prosecute. A humorous fellow, a carpenter, being subpoenaed as a witness on trial for an assault, one of the counsel who was very much given to browbeat the evidence, asked him what distance he was from the party for the fellow defendant strike the plaintiff. The carpenter answered just 4 feet 5 inches and a half. Prithee, fellow, said the counsel, how's it possible you can be so very exact as the distance? Why, to tell you the truth, said the carpenter, I thought perhaps some fool or another might ask me, so I measured it. A defendant in a lawsuit involving a large sum of money went to talk to his lawyer. If I lose the case, I'll be ruined, he said. It's in the judge's hand now, said the lawyer. Would it help if I sent the judge a box of cigars? Oh no, the judge is a stickler for ethical behavior. A stunt like that would prejudice him against you. He might even hold you in contempt of court. In fact, you shouldn't even smile at the judge. Within the course of time, the judge rendered a decision in favor of the defendant. As the defendant left the courthouse with his lawyer, he said, thanks for the tip about the cigars. It worked. I'm sure we would have lost the case if you'd sent them. But I did send them. You did? Yes, that's how we won the case. I don't understand, said the lawyer. It's easy. I sent the cigars to the judge, but enclosed my opponent's business card. About 70 years ago, there was a lawyer here in the United States who had won great success as a trial lawyer. His ability in court was the talk of the profession, and many a young lawyer would give a good deal to know about how the older man won such honors. There was one young attorney in particular who was envious of the older man. It chanced that the two of them found themselves together one day in a stagecoach, bound for the city in which the circuit judge was to sit. Both lawyers were bound to the session of the court. The younger man lost no time in striking up an acquaintance with his older and more famous colleague, and in the course of the conversation said to him, Mr. Jones, you are a prominent and successful attorney, while I am but a beginner in the law. Will you not tell me the secret of your great success before judge and jury? Young man, said Jones, my success has been won at the cost of long, hard work. However, I'm willing to tell you my secret with one condition. Without waiting to hear what the condition might be, the younger man agreed, and Jones said, I will tell you my secret, and you will pay all my expenses during the 3 days we shall be traveling together during the sitting of this court. Agreed? Yes. Well, my secret is this. I deny everything and demand proof. They stayed together 3 days attending court, and the older man occupied the best room in the inn, ate the best food and plenty of it, drank the finest liquor, and smoked the most expensive cigars, all of which went on the bill. The court session was over, and the two lawyers stood in the hotel office while the innkeeper made out the bill. There was a great big one for the older lawyer and a little one for the young man. The former took his bill and, without even looking at it, handed it to the older man. "What's this?" said the younger lawyer. "My bill, which you agreed to pay." "Why?" the young man came back at him. "I deny everything and demand proof." "Young man," the older lawyer said, "you don't need any lessons from me." Okay. Now we will move on to chapter 2. The lawyer is economic predator. I'm not reading all the jokes. There are many jokes and many variants of the jokes, but I'm telling some of the jokes. And again, if you're interested, this is from the book Lowering the Bar, Lawyer Jokes and Legal Culture by Mark Gallanter. And my copy's from 2005. So, yeah. This is from The Lawyer as Economic Predator. A beggar posted himself at the door of the Chancery Court and kept saying, "A penny, please, sir, only 1 penny before you go in." "And why, my man?" inquired an old country gentleman. "Because, sir, the chances are you'll not have one when you come out." Oof. Said a lady to her friend, "When we got our divorce, we divided everything we had equally between us. 2 children stayed with me, 2 went with my ex-husband." "What happened to the property?" asked a friend. "That was shared equally between his lawyer and mine." That's there's some truth there. There's some truth there. Lawyer's creed: a man is innocent until proven broke. Your Honor, said the attorney, rising, "what is the present status of this case as far as it's gone?" "I have given judgment for the residual litigate under the will," the court said. "Put costs on the contestants. Decide all questions relating to fees and other charges. In short, the estate in litigation has been settled, with all controversies, disputes, misunderstandings, and differences of opinion thereto appertaining." "Ah, yes, I see," said the attorney thoughtfully. "We are making progress and getting on famously." "Progress," to the judge. "Progress while the matter is concluded." Exactly, exactly. It had to be concluded in order to give relevancy to the motion that I'm about to make. Your Honor, I move the judgment of the court be set aside and the case reopened. "Upon what grounds, sir?" said the judge, asking in surprise. "Upon the grounds," said the attorney, "that after paying all fees and expenses of litigation and all charges against the estate, there will still be something left." "There may have been error," said the court. "The court may have underestimated the value of the estate. The motion is taken under advisement." That's interesting. That's interesting. The lawyer's saying, there should be nothing in the estate because I've taken all of it already." That's the joke, right? So the judge is saying, "Oh, I've already determined all the assets and how they'll be determined." And the lawyer's saying, "Well, uh, there shouldn't be anything left because I've taken everything." And the judge is like, "Okay, maybe we should reopen." A shorter criminal law version circulates more widely. "Why do you want a new trial?" "On grounds of newly discovered evidence, Your Honor." "What's the nature of it?" "My client dug up $400 I didn't know he had." A businessman was involved in a costly lawsuit which carried a threat of imprisonment. I know the evidence is strongly against my innocence, he told the attorney, but I have $50,000 in cash to fight the case. As your lawyer, I can assure you, said the attorney, you'll never have to go to prison with that amount of money. And he didn't. He went there broke. How are you getting along in the law business, old man? I have one client. Is he rich? He was. A lawyer ordered a special suit made to order, and when he went for the final fitting, he was delighted at the wonderful cut, the marvelous texture of the cloth, and the magnificent styling and lines of design. But he went to put the money in the pockets, he found there weren't any. But why no pockets? He protested to the tailor. It shouldn't make any difference, the tailor answered. Whoever heard of a lawyer with his hands in his own pockets? Two muggers meet in an alley, one of them breathless. I just tried to mug a lawyer, the man panted. Cripes, said the other. Did he get anything? A minister, a scientist, and a lawyer were all adrift on a life raft in the tropics. At last they sighted land, but the wind died down while they were still a short way off the beach. The lawyer, the only one who could swim, volunteered to go ashore with a line and pull the raft to land. The minister knelt and prayed for safety. Then the lawyer dived in. His companion saw a black fin of a shark making straight for him. The shark disappeared, then came up on the other side, having passed under the swimmer. Shortly then, they even saw a bigger shark darting towards him, but this one also swerved just in time. After the lawyer had reached the shallow water, the minister said to the scientist, There you, doubting Thomas, there's proof of the power of prayer. Power of prayer, hell, said the scientist. That was just professional courtesy. A New York lawyer asked his lawyer, A New Yorker asked his lawyer what he would charge for managing a certain case. Well, I'll take your case on a contingency. And what is the contingency? My dear sir, the lawyer said, I will tell you what a contingency fee to a lawyer means. If I don't win your suit, I get nothing. If I do win, you get nothing. An immediately deceased lawyer arrived at the pearly gates to seek admittance from St. Peter. St. Peter was surprisingly warm in his welcome. We're so glad to see you. We're particularly happy to have you here, not only because we get so few lawyers up here, because you lived to the wonderful age of 165. The lawyer was a bit down and hesitant. Now, St. Peter, if there's one place I don't want to get into under false pretenses, it's heaven. I really died at the age of 78. St. Peter looked complex, frowned, and continued to scroll in his hand. Ah, I see where we made our mistakes as to your age. We just added up your timesheets. A lawyer over billing? A doctor was fuming when he finally reached his table at a banquet after breaking away from a woman who sought his advice on a health problem. Do you think I should send her a bill? He asked a lawyer who happened to be sitting next to him. Why not? The lawyer said. You rendered professional services by giving advice. Thanks, said the physician. I think I'll do that. When the doctor went to his office the next day to send a bill to the annoying woman, he found a statement from the lawyer. It read, for legal services, $25. One mother testified he saw Miss Hector reading law books while attending a school performance. Miss Hector said that she did not read while a child was on stage. I probably took a law book so I could bill hours and still be there. There's a lot of truth to that, and not all of it's very good for the lawyer or their mental health, to be quite honest. But the idea that a lawyer is taking a book somewhere to be able to bill their client and doing work while they're also doing something else, that's true and somewhat depressing, to be quite honest, for many lawyers. An elderly spinster hired a young lawyer to prepare her will. I have $10,000 set aside, she asked, and I want to spend it on myself. No one in this town has ever paid attention to me, but they'll sit up and take notice when I die. Warming to the subject, she cackled. I want to spend all $8,000 on the biggest, fanciest funeral in town that they've ever seen. Well, that's a lot to pay to be burying you in these parts, but it's your money, madam, and you're entitled to spend it any way you like. Now, what about the other 2,000? I'll take care of that, the old woman responded with a broad smile. I've never been to bed with a man, and I aim to try to please at least one before I'm through. As you can see, I'm not much to look at, but I figure $2,000 I can get a man that's young enough and handsome enough to please me. That night, the lawyer reported the conversation to his wife. As he discussed the situation, the wife casually mentioned how nice it would be to have $2,000. Minutes later, they are on the way to Spinster's home, the wife driving. As the lawyer stepped from the car, he instructed his wife, pick me up in 2 hours. Returning at the prescribed hour, the wife tooted his horn. No response from the house. He then blew a prolonged bass. An upstairs window was raised by the lawyer, saying, "Come back in 4 days." She decided to let the county bury her. I'm not really sure that's a very good joke, but a handsome young man turned off a number of young ladies he met in a bar. Listen, the bartender said, don't tell them you're a plumber. These tricks want to meet a professional man. Next time, tell them you're a lawyer. Moments later, the woman sat next to the man and asked his occupation. Lawyer, he said. You must have many interesting cases to talk about. Why don't we go upstairs to my apartment and you can fill me in? Soon they were in bed and he was laughing. Why are you laughing? She said. This is great. I've only been a lawyer for an hour and I'm already screwing somebody. My experience personally is that telling a woman that you're a lawyer in a bar doesn't seem to go over particularly well, but maybe it works better for some people. Two lawyers are sitting in a bar drinking when a stunning blonde in a skin tight, low cut dress slinks by. One of them stares for a moment, then turns to his buddy and says, boy, I'd like to screw her. The other lawyer asks, out of what? Lawyers are plants that will grow in any soil that is cultivated by the hands of others. And when one of them have taken root, they will extinguish every vegetable that grows around them. The fortunes they daily acquire in every province from the misfortune of their fellow citizens are surprising. The most ignorant, the most bungling member of the profession will, if placed in the most obscure part of the country, promote litigiousness and amass more wealth than the most opulent farmer with all his toil. What a pity our forefathers, who happily extinguished so many fatal customs and expunged from their new government so many errors and abuses, both religious and civil, did not also prevent the introduction of the set of men so dangerous. The value of our laws and the spirit of freedom, which often comes from liberty, must necessarily throw the greatest part of propriety of the colonies into the hands of these gentlemen. In another century, the law will possess in the North what the church now possesses in Peru and Mexico. Oh, had thoughts. Someone had thoughts, man. Wow. All right, let's turn to chapter 3, Playmates of the Devil. Once again, this comes courtesy of Lowering the Bar, Lawyer Jokes and Legal Culture by Mark Gallner, where we have compiled apparently all the legal jokes ever or other antidotes. A small boy in Austin, Texas. Hey, that's where I live. A small boy in Austin, Texas Sunday school was asked, "Where do the wicked finally go?" "They practice law for a while and then they go to the legislature," was the reply. Wow. We have thoughts. A certain sharp attorney was said to be in bad circumstances. A friend of the unfortunate lawyer met Douglas Gerald, the English wit, and said to him, "Have you heard about the poor R? His business is going to the devil. That's all right. He's sure to get it back again." An attorney observed a boy of about 9 years of age diverting himself at play, whose eccentric appearance attracted his attention. "Come here, my lad," he said. The boy accordingly came, and after chatting a bit, asked the attorney what case he was trying next. "A case between the Pope and the devil," answered the attorney. "And to which do you suppose will gain the action?" "I don't know," said the boy. "I guess it'll be a pretty tight squeeze. The Pope has the most money, but the devil has the most lawyers." Once upon a time, the story goes, the fence broke between heaven and hell. St. Peter approached at the broken section of fence and called to the devil, "Hey, Satan, it's your turn to fix it this time." "Sorry," said Satan. "My men are too busy to go around fixing a mere fence." "Well, then," said St. Peter, "I'll have to sue you for breaking our agreement." "Oh, yeah," echoed the devil. "Where are you going to get a lawyer?" A devout couple were about to get married when a tragic car accident ended their lives. When they got to heaven, they asked St. Peter if they could arrange for them to be married, since that's what they hoped for in life. He thought about it and agreed, but said they'd have to wait. After about 100 years, they discovered that perhaps it would be best not to spend all of eternity together. They returned to St. Peter and said, "We thought we'd be happy forever, but now we believe we have irreconcilable differences. Is there any way we can get divorced?" "Are you kidding, St. Peter? It took me 100 years to get a priest up here to marry you. I'll never get a lawyer." Ooh. "Don't you want to be a Christian?" a Sunday school teacher asked one member of his class. "No, ma'am, my papa wants me to be a lawyer." A defendant who had been convicted of murder was before the court on sentencing. As usual, the judge asked him if he had anything to say before sentence was pronounced. The defendant said, "As God is my judge, I didn't do it. I'm not guilty." To which the judge replied, "He isn't. I am. You did. You are." Now we will read from chapter 4, Conflict. Lawyers as fomenters of strife. It is my understanding that you called upon the plaintiff, stated the lawyer. I did, replied the witness. What did he say? The prosecutor leapt to his feet and slammed down his book, vehemently objecting to the question. He denounced the question as irrelevant, misleading, intending to incriminate an entirely innocent party. He accused the lawyer of using illegal tactics and of being wholly immoral, guilty of malicious practices by daring to try to introduce such testimony. He continued questioning the legitimacy of the lawyer's birth, the decency of his mother, and marital conduct of his wife. The lawyer, boiling with rage, jumped for the prosecutor's throat, and court attendants were forced to subdue the two antagonists, but not before they bloodied each other's nose and blackened each other's eyes. The judge, after restoring order, ruled that the attorney would repeat the question and direct the witness to answer. The court fell into a deep silence, waiting to hear this crucial testimony. Wiping away the blood from his upper lip, the attorney said, I repeat, what did he say? The witness answered, he didn't say anything, he wasn't home. So the idea is the lawyers are fighting, but it doesn't really matter. They're fighting over something that doesn't matter. Father asks the son, what is a lawyer? A lawyer? Well, my son, a lawyer is a man who gets two men to strip for a fight and then runs off with their clothes. Two friends who hadn't seen each other in some time met. One was on crutches. Hello, said the man. What's the matter with you? Streetcar accident, said the other man. When did it happen? Oh, about 6 weeks ago. And you still have to use crutches? Well, my doctor said I could get along without them, but my lawyer says I can't. Are you badly injured? Can't tell till I see my lawyer. When will your father's leg be well so he can come to work? Not for a long time, I think. Why? Because compensation has set in. The son says, Papa, Papa, lid to our coal chute was left open and a man fell down inside. What should I do? Father says, quick, put a cover on it. I'll call a cop and have him arrested before he can sue us. A newly made widow called the office of an insurance company for money due on her husband's policy. The manager said, I'm truly sorry, madam, to hear of your loss. It's always the way with you men, she said. You're always sorry when a poor woman gets a chance to make a little money. A lawyer and an engineer were fishing in the Caribbean. The lawyer said, I'm here because my house burned down and everything I owned was destroyed. Their insurance company paid for everything. That's quite a coincidence, says the engineer. I'm here because my house and all my belongings were destroyed by a flood, and my insurance company also paid for everything. The lawyer looked somewhat confused and asked, how did you start a flood? I educated both of my boys, one to be a doctor and the other a lawyer, a father said. You should be very proud of them, his guest said. That seems like an excellent arrangement. I don't know about that, replied the father. It looks as though it was going to break up the family. I got run into a locomotive, and one of them wants to cure me, and the other one of them wants me to go lame so I can sue for damages. A businessman was involved in a lawsuit that dragged on for years. One afternoon, he told his attorney, frankly, I'm getting tired of all this litigation. The lawyer responded, nonsense. I propose to fight this case down to your last nickel. Two doctors were discussing a case in a psych ward. The first doctor asked what had triggered such a profound depressive psychosis in his patient. The second one answered he's a lawyer. One day at home, he started to think about how much money he'd screwed his partners over and his clients over out of the last few years. He laughed so hard he defecated in his pants. When he smelled the foul odor he had created, he checked for the source. Finding trousers full of stuff, he thought he was leaking. This caused him to go in shock and faint. When he woke up, he had fallen on his arm, breaking it. The first doc asked he went mad because he broke his arm. The second one answered no, he went mad because he couldn't figure out how to sue himself. It was Abraham Lincoln's habit to discourage unnecessary lawsuits, though it cost him a pretty penny. One day, a man stormed into his office and demanded that he bring suit for $2.50 against a debtor. Lincoln gravely demanded $10 as a retainer. Half of this he gave to the poor defendant, who immediately confessed judgment and paid the $2.50. Thus, the suit was terminated to the entire satisfaction of everyone. A real estate mogul was delighted by his comely new receptionist and proceeded to turn on all his charms. Within a few weeks, however, he grew extremely displeased at her growing tardiness. Listen, baby, he roared one morning. We may have gone to bed a few times, but who said you could start coming in late? The secretary replied sweetly, my lawyer. Turning to chapter 5, the demography of the world of lawyer jokes. What's the difference between a female prosecutor and terrorists? You can negotiate with terrorists. Would you marry a woman lawyer? No, indeed, the ordinary woman can cross examine well enough. What do you get when you cross a feminist with an attorney? A lawyer who won't screw you. What is a Jewish nativity scene? Seven lawyers surrounding a car crash. A young associate was invited to a party. at the home of an august senior partner at his firm. The associate wandered in, awestruck throughout the house, especially amazed at the original artwork by Picasso and others adorning the walls. As the associate gazed at one Picasso, the senior partner approached and put his arm around the associate's shoulder. Yes, if you work long and hard, day in, day out, 6, 7 days a week, 10, 12 hours a day, I can buy another one. On to chapter 6, Betrayers of Trust. A doctor and a lawyer in two cars collided on a country road. The lawyer, seeing the doctor was a little shaken up, helped him from his car and offered him a drink from his hip flask. The doctor accepted and handed the flask back to the lawyer, who closed it and put it away. Aren't you going to have a drink yourself? Asked the doctor. Sure, after the police leave. Two lawyers were at a bank when suddenly armed robbers bust in. Well, several of the robbers take money from the tellers, others line the customers, including the lawyers, against a wall and proceed to take their wallets and watches. While this is going on, lawyer number one jams something into lawyer number two's hand. Without looking down, lawyer number two whispers, "What is this?" The lawyer responds, "It's the $50 that I owe you." Two partners in a law firm were having lunch when suddenly one of them jumped up and said, "I have to go back to the office. I forgot to lock the safe." The other partner replied, "What are you worried about? We're both here." One morning at a law office, one attorney looked at another and said, "Wow, you look really terrible this morning." The other lawyer replied, "Yeah, I woke up with a headache this morning, and no matter what I try, I can't seem to get rid of it." The first lawyer told him, "Whenever I get a headache like that, I take a few hours off during the day, go home, and make love to my wife. Works every time." Later that afternoon, the two lawyers met again. The first told the second, said, "You look 100% better." The second replied, "Yeah, that was great advice you gave me. You've got a beautiful house, too." A paralegal, associate, and partner of a prestigious New York law firm are walking through Central Park on their way to lunch when they find an antique oil lamp. They rub the lamp, and a genie comes out in a puff of smoke. The genie says, "I usually only grant 3 wishes, so I'll give each of you just one." Me first," said the paralegal. "I want to be in the Bahamas, driving a speedboat, without a care in the world." Poof, he's gone. In astonishment, me next," says the associate. "I want to be in Hawaii, relax on the beach with my personal masseuse, an endless supply of pina coladas, and the love of my life." Poof, she's gone. "You're next," said the genie to the partner. The partner said, "I want those two back in the library after lunch." A lawyer confided to his partner that years ago he had cheated one of his clients out of $10,000. That client had just died. "I made amends," said the lawyer. "I went to his funeral and I wrote out a check for $10,000 and put it in his coffin." On to chapter 7, The Lawyer as Morally Deficient. A judge who had been for many years a worthy occupant of the federal bench in Michigan fell into conversation a few days since in a barber shop with a plain, substantial looking, and rather aged stranger from a neighborhood nearby. The judge, being formerly well acquainted in that vicinity, took occasion to ask of that certain person, "Do you know Mr. B?" The judge said, "Very well." "He's well, isn't he?" "Quite well," said the judge. The judge remarked, "Mr. B is a very fine man." "Yes," said the older man rather cautiously. "A fine man for a lawyer, you know, but we don't expect a great deal from them." What do you call an attorney who describes himself as a criminal lawyer? Self aware. A young lawyer walking along the street with his wife in arm was greeted by a beautiful young lady. The jealous young wife asked him who the girlfriend was. "Can't remember her name," he said, "just a girl I met professionally." "Whose profession, dear? Yours or hers?" A lawyer had a scheduled business trip to New York, and a colleague had suggested that he call on Miss Fruth when he was on town. "It'll be an unforgettable experience," the colleague promised. "She's no ordinary trollop, I assure you." The first night of the New York stay, the lawyer took a cab and got out in front of one of the finest brownstones on Fifth Avenue. He rang the bell and a maid ushered him in. After presenting his card, he was led into the elegantly furnished drawing room and invited himself to make himself comfortable. Miss Fruth would be down shortly. While waiting, the lawyer stepped over to a huge floor to ceiling bookcase and examined the gilt bound works. Among the many tomes was a 20-volume set of Corpus Juris. A few moments later, Miss Fruth stepped down the curved staircase in a most elegant evening gown. The lawyer looked stunned. She indeed was gorgeous. But he was further stunned to find Miss Fruth conversation, urbane, charming, and witty. He turned to the bookcase and remarked, "Miss Fruth, I noticed a set of Corpus Juris on your shelf. Did you ever study law?" "Yes," she replied. "I'm a graduate of Columbia Law School." "Is that so?" The lawyer said. "Then how did you ever get into this business?" "Oh," Miss Fruth said, "I must have been very lucky." An email, an email that apparently was circulating among law firm associates in 1999. This is the email that apparently was circulating among law firm associates in 1999. "Are you a prostitute or are you an associate at a law firm?" 1. You work very odd hours. 2. You're paid a lot of money to keep your clients happy. 3. You're paid well, but your pimp gets most of the money. 4. You spend a majority of your time in a hotel room. 5. You charge by the hour, but your time can be extended. 6. You're not proud of what you do. 7. Creating fantasies for your clients is rewarded. 8. It's difficult to have a family. 9. You have no job satisfaction. 10. If a client beats you up, the pimp just sends you to another client. 11. You're embarrassed to tell people what you do for a living. 12. People ask you, "What do you do?" and you can't explain it. 13. Your client pays for your hotel room plus your hourly rate. 14. Your client always wants to know how much you charge and what they'll get for the money. 15. Your pimp drives nice cars like Mercedes or Jaguar. 16. Your pimp encourages drinking and you become addicted to drugs to ease the pain of it all. Oof. 17. You know your pimp is charging you more than you're worth, but if a client is foolish enough to pay for it, it's not your problem. 18. When you leave to go see your client, you look great, but you return looking like hell. 19. You're rated on your performance in an excruciating ordeal. 20. Even though you're paid the big bucks, it's the clients who walk away smiling. 21. The client always thinks of your cut of the billing rate is higher than it actually is, and in turn expects miracles of you. 22. When you deduct your take from your billing rate, you consistently wonder if you have a better deal with another pimp. That is that is an interesting email that it was circulating in 1999. Okay. Smithfield said to his wife, "It's about time what we find out Matthew wants to be when he grows up. Watch this." He puts $10 bill on a table and explained that represents being a banker. Next to it, he put a brand new Bible that represents being a minister. Besides that, he places a bottle of whiskey that represents being a bum. Two of them hid where they could watch the table without being seen. Pretty soon, Matthew walked in the room whistling and noticed three things on the table. He looked to check to make sure he was alone. Not seeing anyone, he picked up the money, held it tight, then put it back down. He then fumbled through the Bible and put that down. Then he quickly uncorked the bottle and smelled its contents. In one quick motion, he stuffed the money into his pocket, put the Bible under his arm, chugged down the contents of the Bible, and walked out of the room, still whistling. The father turned to his wife and whispered, "How about that? He's going to be a lawyer." An ambulance rushed to the scene of an accident where an ambulance rushed to the scene of an accident where a lawyer laid amid the wreckage. "Stay calm," the paramedic said. "You've had a serious crack up." "Oh, my Jag, my poor car." "Look," said the paramedic, "I wouldn't worry about your car. Your left arm's been ripped off." The lawyer groaned, "Oh, my Rolex. My poor Rolex." A corporate lawyer and Mother Teresa got stranded in a desert. 2 weeks later, a rescue plane lands. The pilot finds Mother Teresa dead while the lawyer is calmly resting with her hands under his head. "That's awful," the pilot said. "Mother Teresa's dead." "Yeah." "Tell me, how come you survived and she didn't?" The lawyer said, "She never found the water hole." I don't get that one. I'm not sure I want to. A lawyer is working late at night on a difficult case when, in a puff of smoke, the devil appears before him. The devil offers to make him the most powerful, wealthiest lawyer in the history of the world. "All bets," said the lawyer, "and all I have to do is give you my soul." "No," said the devil. "I only ask the right to damn to eternal suffering the souls of your wife and your two youngest children." The man is dumbstruck, thinks for a moment, and then looks at the devil. "All right," he says, "but what's the catch?" A lawyer is standing at the gates of heaven, and St. Peter's listing his sins, defending a large corporation in a pollution suit where he knew they were guilty, defending an obvious guilty murderer because the fee was high, overcharging fees to many clients, prosecuting an innocent woman because a scapegoat was needed in a controversial case, and the list goes on for quite a while. The lawyer objects and begins to argue his case. He admits to all these things, but he argues, "Well, I've done some charity in my life also." St. Peter looks at his book and says, "Yes, I see. Once you gave a dime to a panhandler, and once you gave an extra nickel to a shoe shine boy, correct?" Lawyer gives a smug look and says, "Yes." St. Peter turns to the angel next to him and says, "Give this guy 15 cents and tell him to go to hell." A local Jewish Federation officer realized he's never received a donation from the town's most successful lawyer. The campaign director calls the lawyer to persuade him to contribute. "Our research shows that you have a yearly income of $500,000, but you give not a penny to our charity. Wouldn't you like to give back to the community in some way?" The lawyer mulled this over for a moment and replied, "First, did your research also show that my mother is dying after a long illness, and that medical bills are several times her annual income?" Embarrassed, the charity worker says, "No, I didn't." The lawyer continued, saying, "Or that my brother, a disabled veteran, is blind and confined to his wheelchair." The stricken charity worker begins to stammer out an apology. The lawyer interrupts the apology, saying, "Or that my sister's husband died in a traffic accident." The lawyer's voice rising with indignation, leaving her penniless and with three children. The humiliated charity director, completely being, simply said, "I had no idea." On a roll, the lawyer cut her off once again. So if I don't give any money to any of them, Why would I give money to you? One afternoon, a wealthy lawyer is riding in the back of his limousine when he saw two men eating grass by the roadside. He ordered his driver to stop and got out to investigate. Why are you eating grass? He asked. We don't have any money for food, the man replied. Oh, come along with me then. But, sir, I have a wife and two children. Bring them along, and if you come with us too. But, sir, I have a wife and six children. Bring them along as well. They all climbed in the car, which was no easy task, even for a car as large as that limo. Once underway, the poor fellow said, Sir, you're too kind. Thanks for taking us all with you. The lawyer replied, No problem. The grass at my home is about 2 feet tall. A redhead was a female redhead was thrilled to have obtained a divorce and dazzled by the skill and virtuosity of her lawyer, not to mention his healthy income and good looks. In fact, she realized she'd fallen head over heels with him, even though he was married. Oh, Sam, she sobbed at the conclusion of the trial. Isn't there some way we can be together like we were meant to be? Shaking her by the shoulders, Sam proceeds to scold her roundly for her lack of discretion and good judgment. Snatched drinks in grimy bars on the edge of town, lying on the phone, hurried meetings in sordid motel rooms. Is that really what you want for us? No, no, she sobbed, heart stricken. Oh, said the lawyer. Well, it was just a suggestion. Why do behavioral scientists prefer lawyers to rats? One, there are many more lawyers to work with. Two, lawyers are easily expendable. Three, lawyers do more harm to society than rats. Four, lab assistants are less likely to develop a bond or feel sympathy for them. Five, rats arouse more feelings of compassion and humanity. Six, they multiply faster. Seven, rats have an innate right to life and liberty. Eight, animal rights groups will not object to their torture. Nine, rats have more dignity. And 10, there are some things even a rat won't do. Thank you, by the way, for all the memberships and gift memberships. I appreciate it very, very much. On to chapter 8, lawyers as objects of scorn. What is the difference between a dead snake lying in a road and a dead lawyer lying in a road? There are skid marks in front of the snake. Did you hear that Saddam Hussein took 100 lawyers hostage and he said that if his demands aren't met, he'll start releasing them one by one? A lawyer, a Jew, and a Hindu are traveling together and they're caught in a terrible snowstorm. They make their way to a farmhouse. The farmer says, I'll let you stay here, but one of you will have to sleep in the barn. First, the Hindu goes out to the barn, and in a few minutes, there's a knock on the farmhouse door. Hindu says, In my country, cows are considered sacred. It'd be a terrible sin for me to sleep in the same place as a cow. Then the Jew heads for the barn. In no time, there's a knock on the farmhouse door. The Jew says, I stay in the barn, but my religion forbids me from sleeping with the pig. The lawyer has no choice and heads for the barn. A few minutes later, there's a knock on the farmhouse door, and there stands the pig and the cow. Did you hear about the post office having to cancel its commemorative issue honoring lawyers? It seems it was too confusing. People didn't know which side of the stamp to spit on. Mr. Plowden, the well known London lawyer, on his retirement from the bench, was fond of relating the following as one of the choicest bit of legal experience. In the course of certain cases, he had a chance to cross examine the wife of a notorious burglar. You're the wife of this man? He asked. I am, she replied. And you knew he was a burglar when you married him? I did, she admitted. But how could you possibly marry such a man? He wanted to know. Well, it's like this, the witness said. I was getting old, and two chaps wanted to marry me. It wasn't easy to choose between them, but in the end, I married Bill there. The other chap was a lawyer, same as you. Mrs. Gibson asked her third grade class, I'm going to ask each of you what your father does for a living. Bobby, you're up first. Bobby stood up and said, my father runs a bank. Madeline, my dad is a chef. Matthew, my father plays piano in a whorehouse. Miss Gibson changed the subject to arithmetic. After school, the teacher went to Matthew's house and rang the bell. Matthew's father opened the door. Your son, Matthew's in my class. He says you play piano in a whorehouse for a living? No, said the father. Actually, I'm an attorney, but you can't tell that to an 8-year-old. Why does California have the most lawyers and New Jersey the most toxic waste? New Jersey had the first choice. A man died and was taken to his place of eternal torment. Let me try this again. Torment is the word I'm looking for. Thank you. Let's try this again. A man died and was taken to his place of eternal torment by the devil. As he passed sulphurous pits and shrieking sinners, he saw a man he recognized as a lawyer snuggling up to a beautiful woman. That's unfair, he cried. I have to roast for all of eternity, and that lawyer gets to spend it with a beautiful woman? Shut up, barked the devil, stabbing him with a pitchfork. Who are you to question that woman's punishment? What is the difference between a catfish and a lawyer? One is a scum-sucking, bottom-feeding scavenger. The other is a fish. What is the difference between a lawyer and a bucket of shit? The bucket. This is apparently a very long joke. We'll give this a shot. This is apparently a very long joke. It seems that there were two brothers. One went to business school and became a banker. The other went to law school to become a lawyer. As will happen in some families, they drifted apart. So much so they completely lost touch with another. Neither knew the address or phone number of the other. The banker did very well. He became vice president of a large Eastern bank, which had many, many branches. One day, the banker realized that they were soon approaching the lawyer's 50th birthday, and he really tried to locate his brother. He set out methodically, got the lawyer off to various bar associations, until finally his efforts were rewarded. He received a letter that his brother was vice president and general counsel for a small circus in an out-of-the-way place in Kansas. No phone number given, directory assistance was of no help, the circus did not have a telephone. So the banker flew to Kansas City and then took a bus to Topeka. At the bus station in Topeka, he asked the cab driver for help, and the latter allowed that for just $20, he could take the banker to the circus. And he did. He drove the banker to the outskirts of town, and then to a smaller town, and then to a little village, and at the far end of the village was the circus. A sad sight. covered with Kansas dust. All the trucks and trailers needed a paint job. Sad. Not second rate, not even third rate. And there he found his brother's trailer with the brother's name on the door, followed by vice president and general counsel. The banker knocked on the door. The lawyer opened it. They tearfully embraced and each told each other what they'd been doing for the last 25 years. After about 30 minutes of this, the lawyer looked at his watch and said, "Time to give the elephant an enema." What the banker asked as the lawyer dressed himself in a yellow rain slicker. "Time to give the elephant an enema." "What are you talking about?" asked the banker. "Come with me," said the lawyer. "You'll see the circus has fallen on hard times. We didn't have much money for liability insurance. Last year, after the circus had its parade through a small town, an old man slipped on a deposit. The elephant left on the street. The old man broke his leg. We were sued, no insurance, and a large judgment resulted in us all but being wiped out. We couldn't afford another claim like that. It would put us out of business. And there's a parade this afternoon." When the lawyer walked outside, dressed in his rain slicker, grabbed a fire hose, inserted the nozzle in the elephant's rectum, and turned on the hydrant, almost immediately the elephant had a most normal reaction. He sprayed the helpless lawyer from head to toe with fecal matter. The banker stood there, out of range, and watched these proceedings in utter disbelief. First, he couldn't speak at all. Then he said to his brother, "Please, you don't have to do that. Come east with me. I have a good position in the bank. I can get you a clean job as a teller, maybe even a loan officer." And the lawyer, wiping off his face, answered, "What? And give up the practice of law?" I, I, yeah, I mean, okay. I don't know about all that, but okay. I don't know about that one, but okay. Let's see what else we got in our book. For those of you asking earlier, again, this is coming from Lowering the Bar, Lawyer Jokes and Legal Culture, which apparently is an attempt to document every single lawyer joke ever with footnotes. Turning to chapter 9, a good start. One of the most famous cases in Texas history involved a blacksmith charged with murdering. When the jury returned a guilty verdict and ordered the man to be hung, the town had a problem. There was only one blacksmith, and he had a lot of horses that needed shoeing. The city leaders finally resolved the issue by hanging the man's lawyer, since they had plenty of lawyers. How's Hogue? Last time I heard, the surgery was successful, and he was doing okay. That was as of last night. Tim gave 60 gifts. X come with 55 gifts today. That's awesome, by the way. Thank you very, very much. I really do appreciate everyone who helps to support this channel. I appreciate everyone who helps with the memberships as well too. Like the 99 cents recurring, right? It's nice because it's not very much. And it's a nice way for people to support the channel and help the channel, do things like pay for editors, which I'm looking to do in the future. But the expense and I got to be able to eat. So that's plus, right? So there's a lot more things I'd like to be able to do. And the amount of revenue that I get allows me to do certain things, but not as much as I'd like. So, but I am looking at spending some money on editing in the upcoming term and seeing how that helps with the like daily release videos. Because right now I do my own editing, right? Which is fine. It does fine, but I'd like to augment it. I'd like to pay someone to edit and put in like, stock video, stock footage, um, some graphics to help the storytelling aspect. So it would be a little bit more interesting to follow. than the just, jump cut thing that I do now, which works, but it would be nice to be able to clear it up a little. And editors are incredibly expensive. I hired this guy on Fiverr. No, it was Upwork. Not that it makes a difference because the story is kind of the same. From time to time, I've hired people on Fiverr and or Upwork. So recently, I hired a guy on Upwork. He was $15 an hour for editing. I'm like, okay, we'll give this a shot. I was like, can you edit the first video of this batch record I just did, just to see what you do with it? And so he produced a like 5-minute result. It was like 5 minutes and 30 seconds long was the result, and charged me like $45, which I thought was pretty outrageous. You know, now maybe that's a fair rate. And like also, I didn't think the result was like great. I thought it was okay. But $45 for an edit, that's a lot of edit, right? Especially if I'm going to be releasing videos as much as I want to, right? So trying to find someone who's reliable and can work with me is a problem. I'm looking right now at this company called Video Husky. I've looked at a couple different companies that do video editing because I think me trying to find these independent people is a problem. I think maybe I need a company that can do it instead. So right now I'm looking at this thing Video Husky, and we'll see if they can help me. But finding someone who can help you is expensive. And yeah, so the this is a long way of saying that your contributions help to support the channel. And right now I can't spend any money because, well, I have to pay taxes. And I haven't paid taxes throughout the year for the channel. And so I have to write a big ass check. I probably have to start filing quarterly, which, is annoying, but you know, yeah. But finding someone who's reliable and produces something that's good and is not expensive and who's dependable and cheap. So it's challenging. So yeah. A persistent party member once appeared before President Lincoln and demanded appointment to a judgeship as a reward for some campaigning he had done in Illinois. The president, aware of the man's lack of judicial attributes, told him it was impossible. There are simply no vacancies at this time, Mr. Lincoln said. The man left. Early the next morning, he was walking along the Potomac when he saw a drowned man pulled from the river and immediately recognized him as a federal judge. Without a moment's of hesitation, he presented himself to Mr. Lincoln while the president was eating breakfast, told him what he'd seen, and demanded an immediate appointment to the vacancy. Lincoln shook his head and said, "I'm sorry, but you came too late. I've already appointed the lawyer who saw him fall in." Yeah, I mean, you guys will have to start telling other people in chat. But yes, the last I heard from Hogue Law, the surgery was successful. That's the last I heard from it. So, last I heard from Hogue, you guys will have to start talking amongst yourselves. But and if you're interested in this, just go to Mrs. Hogue's Law Twitter because that's where I'm getting the information from. Because if I had information other than that, it would be information that I got privately, which I wouldn't feel comfortable to share. So the only information that I know that I would share is information that's in the public anyway. So I'll share with you the information that I know that's in the public, which is from Mrs. Hogue's channel. The information that I know that's in the public is that the surgery was successful and that his doctors are optimistic. And that's the last I heard of it as of last night. So contact the RTF department at UT. Okay, maybe I'll contact UT and see if they want to help. But it's like I'm not even sure I want to necessarily work with students because again, I need someone who's reliable, who can do the throughput and all the rest of it. And I don't know that I want to necessarily deal with all that, but I think I'm going to give Video Husky a try and see how that goes. What do you need when you have three lawyers up to their neck in cement? More cement. Smith practiced law for 60 years. Finally, he drops dead. At the funeral, hundreds of people show up. A bystander turns to one and says, "What a turnout." The mourner says, "We're all clients of his." "No kidding, all clients. And you showed up to pay your respects?" "Hell no. We came to make sure he was dead." A stranger arrived in town just as a funeral procession was passing by. Behind the hearse marched a man who held on leash a large, snarling dog with dagger like fangs. And behind the man had followed 70 people in a single file. "What's the story?" asked the stranger. "That's my lawyer in the hearse. This is the dog that bit him to death." "Ah," whispered the stranger. "Could I borrow the dog?" "Sure," said the dog owner. "Get in line." The truck driver used to amuse himself by running over lawyers he would see walking down the side of the road. Every time he would see a lawyer walking along the road, he would swerve to hit him. There'd be a loud thump, and then he'd swerve back on the road. This pastime was immensely enjoyed by the truck driver. One day, as the truck driver was driving along, he saw a priest hitchhiking. So he thought he'd do a good turn by offering the priest a lift. He pulled the truck over and asked the priest, "Where are you going, Father?" "I'm going to a church 5 miles down the road." "No problem, Father. I'll give you a lift. Climb in the truck." With that, the happy priest climbed into the passenger seat and the truck driver continued down. Suddenly, the truck driver saw a lawyer walking down the road and instinctively he swerved to hit him. But then he remembered there's a priest in the truck with him, so at the last minute he swerved back on the road, narrowly missing the lawyer. However, even though he's certain he missed the lawyer, he heard a loud thud. To understand where the noise came from, he turned to the priest and said, "I'm sorry, Father, I almost hit that lawyer." "That's okay," said the priest. "I got him with the door." A Russian, a Cuban, an American, and a lawyer are on a train. The Russian takes the bottle of the best vodka out of his pack, pours some into a glass and drinks it, and says, "In Russia, we have the best vodka in the world. Nowhere in the world can you find vodka as good as the one we produce in Russia. And we have so much of it that we can just throw it away." Saying that, he opened up his window and threw the rest of the bottle away. All the others were quite impressed. The Cuban takes out a pack of Havanas, takes one of them, lights it up, and begins smoking by saying, "In Cuba, we have the best cigars in the world. Havana, nowhere else in the world are there so many that are so good. We have so many of them we can just throw them away." Saying that, he throws the pack of Havanas through the window. One more time, every time is quite impressed. At this time, lawyer just stands up, opens the window, and throws the lawyer through it. A tourist walks into a back alley antique shop in San Francisco's Chinatown. Picking through the objects on display, he discovers a detailed, life-size bronze sculpture of a rat. The sculpture is so interesting and unique that he picks it up and asks the shop owner what it costs. $12 for the rat, sir," said the shop owner. "$1,000 more for the story behind it." "You can keep the story, old man, but I'll take the rat." The transaction complete, the tourist leaves the store with the bronze rat under his arm. As he crosses in front of the store, two live rats emerge from a sewer drain and fall into step behind him. Nervously, he looks over his shoulder. He begins to walk faster. But every time he passes another sewer drain, more rats come over and follow him. By the time he's walked 2 blocks, at least 100 rats are at his heel. People are beginning to point and shout. He walks even faster and soon breaks into a trot as multitudes of rats swarms. From sewers, basements, vacant lots, and abandoned cars, rats by the thousands are at his heel. As he sees the waterfront at the bottom of the hill, he panics and starts to run full tilt. No matter how fast he runs, the rats keep up, squealing hideously, now not just by the thousands, but millions. So by the time he comes running up to the water's edge, a trail of rats, 12 city blocks long, is behind him. Making a mighty leap, he jumps up past the light post, grasping it with one arm, while he hurls the brown rat into the San Francisco Bay, with the others, as far as he can heave it. Pulling his legs up and clinging to the white post, he watches in amazement as the seething tide of rats surges over the breakwater into the sea, where they drown. Shaking and mumbling, he makes his way back to the antique shore. I so you've come back for the rest of the story? No, said the tourist. I was wondering if you had a bronze lawyer. Lowering the bar? Yeah, for $6.22 on eBay with free shipping. Hey, that's a good deal. That's a good deal. By the way, I don't know if any of you, I might as well ask. I don't know if any of you have an old graphics card for a PC that you don't need anymore, like sitting around. I'm looking preferably for like I have a 1070 right now, and I'm looking preferably for like a 3070 or 3080. And if you happen to have one that's sitting around that you don't need, I could use it. So if you happen to have one sitting around that you'd like to send me, let me know. And if you'd like to send it to me for free, my PO box is available on my about page. So just saying. Uh, you have piles? Excellent. So could you send me one? Yeah, if you happen to have if you happen to have a 3070 or like 3080 that you don't need and you have piles of them, could you send me one to like my PO box? That'd be very, very helpful. Do not go for the 3070, go for the 3080. Yeah, well, the 4090. I'm not going to spend 4090 is like $1,600 to $2,000. No, that's okay. I don't need to spend that kind of money. I don't. Yeah, okay, fine. So if you have, I am not spending $1,600 to $2,000 for a 4090. That's ridiculous. A 3080 will be fine. So if you happen to have a 3080, if you have piles of them sitting around, then I'll take the 3080. That'll be fine. 1,600 is like $2,400 here. Yeah, so maybe even more expensive. Maybe even more expensive. Maybe my pricing of the market is a little under. So I thought it was only 1,600 to 2,000, but 2,400. Yeah, I'm not spending $2,400 on a I'm not yeah, no. That's fine. A 3080 will be fine. Even the 3080, like at retail or like used, like I've been looking at the market, like I can't really afford that price. Like I've seen some around the three $500 point or a little bit more. It's like, which maybe isn't a bad ask, but I don't really have that much revenue so it's like, my dead set on GeForce. Mm, I suppose not. If I get something that's equivalent. Um, I'm just familiar with the NVIDIA line more so than anything else. I mean, if you have a non-NVIDIA card that's comparable, then I'm happy to give that a try too. A businessman has to leave town before a lawsuit against him by a competitor was ended. So he told his lawyer to write the outcome as soon as it was over. Several days later, he received a telegram. Justice has triumphed. He hastened to write back immediately, appeal at once. You cannot get an Nvidia. You cannot get a decent Nvidia for $70. I don't know what you're talking about. Do I have any independent TV filmmakers or movies near you that might have graphics card? I don't know. None that I'm aware of. None that I'm aware of. I don't know who would ask. I suppose I could go onto to Google and start googling, but I don't know anything. Um, I want to engage your services, said an Arkansas man to a lawyer. All right, sir, be seated. What's the case? There's a man in my neighborhood called Alex Hippen. I want you to prove that he stole a saddle. Did the saddle belong to you? No. Well, then you're the prosecuting witness. No, I don't propose to have anything to do with the case. Then why do you want me to prove that Hippen stole the saddle? You see, I stole the saddle myself, and I can prove that Hippen stole it. I'm all right. Ah, I see. We'll fix that. Of course, we can prove that he stole it. The lawyer explained to his client the scale of prices. I charge $5 for advising you as to just what the law permits you to do. For giving you advice as the way you can do it safely, what the law forbids, my minimum fee is $100. The senior partner of the senior partner of a prestigious Pittsburgh law firm was speaking to a young wife of the company's newest partners. You know, Mrs. Baylock, your husband is an absolutely honest man. He seems passionately concerned with the attainment of justice. Yes, that's wonderful quality, said his wife. Yes, said the boss, if only he wasn't a lawyer. I'm getting a little bit tired, so we'll finish. We'll read. We'll finish. Read some more, and then we'll finish up. Okay, I think we're out of jokes. There's more thumbnails, more stuff, but we've gone through the principal part of the book, so I guess we'll end for now. Tell us your favorite and the joke I made up on Friday Night Frenzy. See, the joke wouldn't be funny now. The joke wouldn't be funny now. The joke was only funny in the moment. The joke that you have in your head is probably funnier than the one I told. So that one will just keep. When are we going to play Jackbox again? Oh no, that's a good question. Oh no, that's a good question. Maybe we'll play Jackbox soon. I don't know. Yeah. So that was fun. I had fun. I feel like I need a nap. Maybe I'll take a nap. Maybe then I'll go work out. Whiplash's Bay. Whiplash is cool. You like my historically relevant constitutional case law videos? Any ideas on when the next one will be? That's a good question. I should start doing them at like a regular time on Wednesday. I used to try to do them after Rob came on Wednesday, but Rob was so long that it becomes uncomfortable for me to stay up that late. So maybe I can do it at a more reasonable time on Wednesday and do like historical case law decisions on Wednesday. That could be fun. All right, let me read your super chats and then sign off. Okay. $2 Canadian dollars from X Petite Serge, who said, feel richer by the knowledge. Thanks to you, K50 leaders. And OK 100 from X Comer said, Happy New Year, Kurt. Thank you very much. 20 pounds from Finish Crip. Afternoon, Kurt chat. Just wanted to pop on and wish you all Happy New Year's and a wonderful day. Thanks, Kurt, for all you do within and outside the genre law. Keeps cracking those jokes. I love your sense of humor. Tim Riggs gave $10. Said, dealing with depression and grief a lot this year, my man. Not gonna lay my troubles out there, but progress has been made on my side as well. Keep up the good fight, my man. Sky's neighborhood gave £1.79 to say nothing comes easy in life. Mike DiRargo says, what was Nate's joke? It's not my place to say. Tim Riggs said, I do like historically relevant case law analysis and ideas when it can be. Yeah, I probably will try to devote a day of the week to it and do it maybe on Wednesday. So that'll be good stuff. So I'm gonna sign off for now. I hope you've enjoyed the stream and Happy New Year, everyone. Happy 2023. Oh my God. Oh my God, it's New Year's Day. Holy shit. Well.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
Yeah, that's about right. All right, I'm gonna sign off for now. I hope you've been well. Until later, my friends. Hope you have a great one. Bye.